I knew I wasn't probably the fastest. I probably wasn't the strongest. But by the time I stood in the line in Barcelona, I knew I was technically better than everybody else, and that I was mentally better than everybody else.
And listen, before everyone jumps on me, I wasn't fast. But and Colin Jackson came in to teach us how to run. And I'm talking about lads in the prime of their career and physicality, and he breezed past us.
Anyway, he goes to me, are you coming off the plane at the front at Heathrow with me, or are you at the back with everybody else?
Did he say that?
Even all I just remember rehearsing in my mind was just crossing the line and winning. But I didn't rehearse, what happens after that.
Right, so Sally, Sussex, British sporting royalty.
Right on time, that.
Yeah.
Just right on time. That's a first. I think that's a first.
Not a good start.
That's staying in, Tom.
God, there's always one, isn't it?
Answer it if you want.
No, I don't. It hasn't even got a name on it. Definitely not.
Must have been important.
I'm sticking by my point though. Sally,
Yes.
Sussex and British sporting royalty in the Brighton and Hove Albion training ground. Have you been here before? What do you make of it?
I've been here once before. I've never been allowed inside. So this is great.
Yeah.
Just seen somebody already that I know that used to be... Shona used to be part of 400 hurdler, so we're going to have a little catch up in a minute. Being outside, my boys have played on one of the outside pitches. I got a little tour around, which was lovely. I got very excited by the man-made hill. Only an athlete could get excited by a man-made hill, couldn't it? And I thought that was brilliant. So yeah, there you go. Tick my box.
Because when you were training to be an Olympic champion, obviously the training was serious and at high level, but it's come on so much since then, hasn't it? I mean, do you envy today's athletes, the facilities and the preparation they have?
I do. I envy lots of things, the technology, that goes into it. I think the biggest thing I think is the sports science side of it. If I think about when I got my injury, it took 6 months to find out what it was. That wouldn't happen now. And I just love that, the recovery, the science, the technology that goes into the spikes. I often wonder what difference that would have made. But hey, my time's not that far behind with it still. So there's some good things.
Yeah, it didn't do you any harm, did it, not to be pampered?
It didn't go too bad.
No, it didn't go too bad, did it? No, and I think, you can have all those things. And I always say they are the 1%. And, they are important. But, you still got to have talent at the end of the day. And you still got to work hard.
I'm really interested because obviously you know all about physiology and what it takes to make an athlete. When you look at today's footballers and the sort of guys that are wandering around here, what do you see athletically? I mean, they're very highly developed, aren't they? But in very specific ways. You can see that they're trained to the absolute degree, but in the right areas, in the right way. Yeah,
very much so. We always, still been very much involved in the sport and football over the years with my 3 boys and, academies or whatever else. And I can see that a footballer is a 400, 800 runner. So just the speed element that they have in there, the skill element, but also that speed endurance and the strength. It's, having all those elements that are in place. And I often think, that'd make a great 800 runner. Bring them over.
Yeah, because and they're lighter, aren't they? I mean, no, I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but you have to be lighter to run as much as you have to in today's game. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Ben's going to get me for that.
I think I've put a little bit of weight on since I finished playing. What I think about footballers and running, and you'll be able to put me right on this. So we never get taught to run properly. So there's an efficient way to run, isn't there?
Absolutely.
That you'll know where you use the right muscles. Where footballers are very hamstring dominant.
Yep.
So if you show like aptitude in football, you just are who and how you were when you broke through, and obviously you try to better your football skills, but as far as your running pattern and things are concerned, which you could gain a lot of speed off her.
Absolutely, and I do look at runners and and it's all about, I don't know, their arms are not moving in the right way or sideways. They're not got that forward power movement. And, you know, as an athlete, you look at absolutely every little detail of, you know, but it has to be for you, and it has to be right, and it has to be mechanically right. But yeah, I mean, that being able to sprint correctly and the difference that they would have on that speed element and what that brings to the game. Injury prevention. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, as you say, it's hamstring dominant. So a lot of what the sprinters do is very much, just the power off the ground and making that sure that's in the right place, that it isn't hamstring dominant, that you're using every element of it, and just that reaction, that would make the difference almost off the ball.
So I once did, so it's quite common now for pre-season camps where like a group of professionals will get together and you're going work before you have to come back into the training ground. And I remember doing one back in the day. And listen, before everyone jumps on me, I wasn't fast. But I was doing this camp and there was some fast kids there, like proper fast kids. And we're talking about all professional footballers at the time. And Colin Jackson came in to teach us how to run, like the mechanics kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm talking about lads in the prime of their career and physicality, and he breezed past us. Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah. And then you appreciate that.
Exactly, being able to do that. But I think the thing is with it's about, you know, it's like football. You've got to be able to drill it. You've got to be able to do it every week. You know, it's little tweaks that you've got to be able to add in. It's not something that somebody comes along and teaches you for a couple of weeks and you've got it. It's, you know, it's that muscle memory bit that you have to get in and develop those, you know, fast twitch muscles and all of those and the right positions of the hips and stuff. So it's that drilling for weeks that you have to do, but you've got so much more drilling to do as well, haven't you, with everything else? That's the thing.
Yeah, but at the basis of it all, like you've got to run around to be able to be good at the sport, and I just think footballers should be taught a little bit more about running patterns.
You know, it's a bugbear of mine that in schools, certainly state schools, kids aren't taught to run. You know, so there's a PE lesson.
Are they taught to go outside?
To do sport?
Yeah, less and less. Yes. But you know, you say, right, we've got PE, you can play football, rugby, cricket, whatever it is. But children should be taught how to run from a very young age, shouldn't they? If you went into a school and said, I'm going to teach you all to run, and that's a lifetime skill, and you'll feel so much better when you've learned to do it because you can apply it to everything you do. Most people can't really run, can they? Because they've never learned how to.
So we've just said professional athletes don't know how to run properly in the correct manner.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is true what you say. You know, you can bring it to whatever, isn't it? Whether you're running for a bus or whether you're playing tennis or paddle, like we're saying now. You know, that speed and that reaction. Can benefit so many things, and it is one of they're saying it's one of the things, isn't it, around longevity as well, is like to keep that speed, so that if you do fall, you can move quickly and that element. So it is, it's important.
I think it should be a GCSE. Talking of running at a high level, we should just go back over your career though, because it was a stellar career, you know, and you were the only woman to have been a European, World, Commonwealth and Olympic champion at the same time. Did you just now and again think about that again and think, Christ, I couldn't have gone any higher than that, you know?
I think Keely Hodgkinson will be there soon. I think she'll be joining us, which is great. But I think it's not until...
She says through gritted teeth.
I think she's an amazing athlete. I love watching her. But I think it's that sort of thing you don't realise until you walk away from the sport. Because when you're in it, it's why you train. It's, you know, it's all about how good you can get your body and what you can achieve and that. And it's not until you come away and, you know, being involved with John and the high level athletes and actually knowing how hard it is to do that, and, you know, and to get it right on that one day. And I think the more that I'm around it at the moment, the more I respect it, because, you know, watching, you know, Elliot Giles in this recent World Championships, you know, he's trained for so long for that one thing, and he said, and it doesn't happen, and it just goes, wow, it is, you know. And I don't think when you're in it you realise how many elements of it you have have to get right, and it's not just the physical side, but it's just the lack of races and draws and the mental side. Yes, just so much. And it's,
I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to do it every week. And if it went wrong, it went wrong, and if it went right, it went right. But when you train for so long for one aim and one particular race, and like you say, just for everything to align perfectly, there must be like a lot of pressure riding on that moment.
Oh, it's massive. And I think when you're in it, I mean, I think because I won the Olympics first, I didn't realise the magnitude of what being an Olympic champion means. And so I think I went into it quite naive, you know, and I went in going, well, it will be great. And I'm in fantastic shape. This is a great opportunity. And I think when you then do it, but it's, you know, the years afterwards, you know, I always say my greatest achievement was, you know, breaking the world record, and the world's the following, because all of a sudden you know so much more, and that pressure is double or triple almost, and you're not just doing it for you're doing it because people say you sent them to bed with a smile on their face the night that you won. You go, oh my God, you know, you feel that responsibility. But I think it's always about, I just think mentally I was, you know, that was my biggest thing. I could put it in the right place. I had amazing people around me and I used to say to myself, you know, your family is still going to be there. Everyone's still going to love you. You can only ever do your best. And it sort of used to just calm me down. And because I'd done so much mental preparation, you know, I just went into that auto and just did what I knew I had to do.
Yeah, because you've got...
which is tough to do, but I think it's just...
It takes a special type of person to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it does, but you have to have the skills and put the pieces in place beforehand to be able to do that. So, yeah.
Just looking back, Sally, you got touched off in the 91 World Championships, but you kind of almost used that as a springboard, didn't you? Because, I mean, in Barcelona the following year, in the Olympics, in the Olympic final, you just smashed it, didn't you? I watched the tape again this morning, and it was... it was never in doubt, was it? Really?
No, and I learnt a lot from 91. You know, I made mistakes. I stuttered into a hurdle. You can't afford to do that. And even coming second, everyone's like, you're second best in the world. You're like, no, why? Because I made a mistake. And I knew the only reason I made that mistake because I wasn't the most confident of athletes. Right. I always put myself down. I always thought everyone was better. I would always worry about, she looks good. You know, I was up against the flamboyancy of these Americans that were, you know, massive compared to me. And they had, you know, tutus on and long nails. And there was little... And I think that was a problem for many years. I used to go, is that what I need to be? Do I need to be like that? And it wasn't me. So I think... by making those mistakes and realising that what was holding me back was that mental side of it and was my confidence and my belief, and that's when, you know, start working with the psychologists. And I probably was one of the first athletes to start working with a psychologist.
And that was before Barcelona, was it?
That was before Barcelona, straight off the back of 91. That was the biggest thing that came out. I mean, I don't think anyone else. It was probably like the same in football back then. You know, what do you mean you're not tough enough? So sort yourself out. You know, and it was about the arrogance that you had to show on the start line, and it wasn't me. It didn't come naturally. And he did. He made the massive difference of just having a plan, having an action, knowing what you had to achieve, and sitting down with me and going, this is what you've got, this is the time you can run to win, and this is how you're going to do it. Yeah. And to have that, and then to think about it every single day, and then to rock up and the gun goes, and you play out what you've done in your mind for the last 12 months every single day. And then you go, was that real? Was that it? Because that was the race that played out in my head.
So I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
That being second in the world and you still had self-doubt.
It's
incredible. Like how can people have that self-doubt? I was very similar, so I had a lot of doubt about my ability and things all the time. But when you were second in the world, it's
you still... But also, I think, you know, you as a journalist in that time would probably say, I'm not sure Sally's quite tough enough. You know, I
wouldn't
think
have
all
said
of them
that.
used to say she'll probably get a medal, but I don't know whether she's quite got.
But is that you
Olympic
listening to the
gold.
negative comments over the positive comments?
I think it's what most people think, because I was around with, you know, the Limfords and the Collins and the Carl Lewises and all these great guys that if you watch just how they held themselves. And
Yeah, but that's all perception because the
Yeah.
way I look about it, like you're one of the first women athletes I can remember.
But I was probably the only woman. That was the thing. I used
Yeah.
that they were who I hanged with. You know, I would go on the Grand Prix circuit and there was hardly any, there was no other British women on the Grand Prix circuit.
Really?
There was other, you know, women from other countries, but we were talking about, you know, sometimes it was the Eastern Bloc, it was the Russians, and it was that sort of time. So there was no real role models. There was nobody really that was there. So I hanged all the time with, you know, and it was incredible with Limford and Colin and that side of it. But that is, you know, you watched how they supported themselves and how their mannerisms, and there's part of you just trying to be somebody else, and we all know you can't do that in life. You've got to be yourself. So it took coming second in the Worlds. It took somebody to help me. It took being asked, you know, I need help, I need support, and to change it. But you can change it. I think that was the biggest thing.
Even just being aware enough to know that you needed just that, or like you said, that extra 1%,
Yeah.
but it wasn't physically,
No.
it wasn't more training,
No.
it was mentally.
Yeah, I knew I was brilliant. I knew I wasn't probably the fastest. I probably wasn't the strongest. But by the time I stood in the line in Barcelona, I knew I was technically better than everybody else, and that I was mentally better than everybody else. And they were the two things that really got me through at that point.
And by the time you crossed the line, you were a household name. Your life had changed forever. The following year was, you know, full of profile and invitations and opportunities, wasn't it? And yet you turned up in '93 and won the World Championship. That must have been hard to get yourself up again and say, right, I'm going to push all these distractions aside and I'm going to go and win again.
Yeah, you know, you get on the Olympic circuit, you know, and I think we got to Christmas and we panicked because, you know, it is like, hang on a minute, you've not trained hard enough. And I always remember someone saying to me, you're only ever as good as your last match, your last race, whatever. So we did. We went and had to, disappear, take ourselves off, refocus. And I just remember, I think I trained because I was scared. I trained because I was scared I wasn't going to be that athlete that I was the year before. And I remember coming out, my first race out in that World Championship year, and I think the World Champs were in August. This was sort of June. Not really sure what shape I was in, whether it was going to happen, what was happening. But I was in the shape of my life, and it was like, okay, you know, I got here because I was scared of that failure, and that's what motivated me. And I think, you know, you can use that to motivate yourself. So,
And you were the champ. You were there to be shot at then, weren't you, in 93?
I was the champ,
Yeah.
and I was flying. I was, you know, I was talking about world records, and then, you know, my competitors all disappeared, went off training because they knew I was in the best shape of my life, and I was like, bring this thing on. And then I got ill, literally, going into the World Championship village. I had a sore throat, I had a cold, and I just remember sitting down with my team going, should I go out there? You're Olympic champion, you've got so much to lose. You know, if you don't get through the heats, if you don't even get to the final, if you get to the final and you get last, are you not better not to actually put yourself on the line? And that was where my mind was going, literally 2 days before going out there to race.
So in percentage terms, how close were you to pulling out?
I would say 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
Who talked you in?
I talked myself into it. And I just decided that I've never been a quitter in my life. And whatever happens, happens. And I'll pick myself up. And I think something that sport has taught me, and it's not again until you come out of it, is that things happen for a reason, isn't it? You know, sometimes it's the biggest bane of my life because I try and fix everything. And I think that's where I was with my sport, is that, you know, even if I don't win here, something good will come out of this.
Do you ever feel there can be, I felt this as an athlete, there can be an over-preparation. And you know, you said you got ill.
Yeah.
And that would have taken your mind off all other noise.
Yeah.
And you would have just been concentrated on this illness and should I race, should I not race?
Yeah.
But essentially that closed out all the outside noise, because I always feel as though athletes, like, we eat right, sleep right, everything's done properly, but if your mind's not right, it's pointless turning up.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know, like on a Premier League game, and this is a completely different level. You're talking about the world, I'm talking about the Premier League. But like,
it's massive.
I would take my dog for a walk on Saturday morning, just so I wasn't watching TV, so I wasn't reading the paper, so I wasn't looking at social media, and just take myself away from sport as much as possible, because I think I wanted to be more instinctive, rather than anxiously wear myself out worrying about what was going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's, you know, things that I had to do. I had to do that mental preparation, which was really important. But on the day, you've done it. You've done everything. There's nothing you can change. You've just got to get yourself ready. And I always say it's, you know, you've got to shut that little voice up, haven't you? It's in your head, you know, it's that, you know, that is the mental side of it, isn't it? And I guess it's often massive, isn't it, whatever we do in life. And it is just about, you know, just go away. I used to throw it, I screw it up in a piece of paper and throw it out every time that it was always a he that used to come in. And I would go, but I had to go. Come on, just chill. Just enjoy it. You know, you're lucky to be here. You're in the best shape of your life. You know, just go out there, see what you're capable of, and just, you know, and just fuel yourself with nice thoughts.
So can you tell me about the infrastructure around you at that point? Because we had Julie Salmon on, and what she told us about, I mean, it was pretty much just her, wasn't it, Paul? There wasn't many people involved in it. And when obviously we sat here at the training ground now, and the infrastructure, and the support that the both the men's and the women's first team have got, like, everything is set up for them to be successful. Can you just tell me, like, what you had and who was around you?
Yeah. So I had my coach, who was massive. He's been with me since I was 14. So 14 years old.
Yeah, but local to you?
No, he trained Daley Thompson to his gold medal. And he wanted me as part of the group. So from an early age, 14, I was committed, driving to Crystal Palace from Essex at that point. So massive commitment from a young age was there, and great parents that did it, very similar to football. And I guess the difference to me was coming 5th in the Olympics in 88 was, right, what is it going to take? How can I get closer? And that's where the infrastructure came in. So that's where I looked at what I was eating, and we got a nutritionist in to sort of give us advice and help and stuff like that. Bit more of the sports science, but nothing compared to now. A bit more, you know, the psychologist came in, as I said, the year before. So there was a bit more of a team around us. But do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? I'm looking at the World Championships, which are happening now, and I don't know when this goes out, so it would be afterwards. But when I went out, yes, there is a massive team of people that are behind it, but I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for them, because I think that adds added pressure if you're doing it for other people. And I was maybe it sounds selfish or whatever, but I was doing it for myself, because I couldn't cope with that pressure that I really want to run well because Bruce has given me all this time that he's put in. It was just too much. Or, gosh, you know, the nutritionist or the psychologist, you have to do it for yourself. And I think, you know, one of the biggest things that I think was what challenged me was I was excited about what I could physically do as a person. That's what drove me. I wanted those gold medals and things like that, but I just loved what could I, you know, change and improve on and do this and add in. And I know all these people give me about, I just loved what I could actually do to get that little percent that could push me on to running a little bit faster or a little bit smoother over the hurdle, or, you know, all of those bits. And that's what drove me. And I just think, you've got to do it for yourself, not for anybody else.
It's really interesting that you're both talking about, Glenn, you're talking about going for a dog walk to get away from what you're going to do that day. And Sally, you're talking about throwing the piece of paper in the bin to get rid of those thoughts. It's weird to think that even at the top in professional sport, your enemy is your own mind in a way.
Massive.
You know, if the other guy beats you, or the other person beats you, tough luck, you did your best, they were slightly better than you on the day.
Yeah.
But if your mind is sabotaging you on the way to the event, that's a remarkable thing for your mind to do. What you think...
Well, I always say...
This is my problem, is my own mind, you know.
I used to say probably 70% of it is in the mind, which is massive.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It is absolutely massive. And I think when I look back, you know, there were so many talented people out there. So much more talent than what I ever had. And faster and stronger and whatever else. But, yeah, it's just getting hold of that mind. But it is hard to explain that. And, you know, I still work with people and help them. But it's... you know, try and put things in place, but there's still a lot of barriers in people's lives that they have to get over and, you know, and get through to do that. It's
and switching
it's a tough
your mind
one.
off, controlling your own mind, I suppose, and switching it off and achieving that level of calm is a big part of it, isn't it? Quite
Massive.
Yeah.
But like, so I would always think in those moments of when a chance arose on a Saturday, I could always be quite calm to be able to at least find the target. What happened after that? But like for you, like preparing for years and years for that one moment, there's only a certain amount of people can kind of, like you say, people faster, stronger. But you readied yourself at that moment. That's all it was about, that moment.
I remember I almost did fall asleep in the call room before you go out. So that's, you know, the state of the mind that you get yourself in. You know, you say you go for a walk and with a dog, you know, you just got to sometimes bring yourself down because if you're too hyper and you're up there, I looked at that as wasted energy.
So have you ever gone into a race where you've been so anxious and overthought it that when you started running you felt empty?
Yeah, I think that's what I used to do, whereas I could now, you know, those big races, I was just like mellow. I was almost asleep in the call room. Some people would say, God, come on, shake yourself, get out there, come on, what's the matter with you? But I was just in control and just knew. And it's just, it's a beautiful place to be able to get. And I guess that's probably where you got yourself on a Saturday. That's where you felt comfortable in to be able to do that before a match, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes, But I mean, even your opponents, like the people you're running against, when they see you in that state, they'll be like, how is she like that?
Yeah. But I remember all your opponents, like, you know, I had a massive rivalry, didn't I, with Sandra Farmer-Patrick, American girl. And I'd got myself into such a great positive place where, you know, she would just come into the call room, which is a horrible place, and she would just stand.
Sorry, can you tell me what a call room is?
So the call room is where you go. It's a small room before you walk out onto the track.
Altogether.
And it's literally all of you in this room. And it's a tiny room, and they check your numbers, and there's no sound. And everybody is psyching each other out. And I just remember on this day, you know, Sandra's way of trying to win is to come and get in your face. So I was prepared for that, and this is where I was in such a great place. She just stood over the top of me like this, peering down on me. And I was in such a great place saying, so you should look at me because you know I'm the one to be.
So she was like trying to physically impose herself on you.
That's what happens. Physically try and get into your head. And that's what happens in this situation.
Which
It
means
must
she's
happen
worried
in the tunnel before you go out.
Well, no, they don't just put us in a holding pen all together really tight.
And you're in here 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes, sometimes longer. Yeah.
And there's like seats?
There's seats at the side, but some people chat. Some people don't. I used to hate, don't talk to me.
And it would have been the day before headphones, would it?
Day before headphones. Nobody had
Well,
headphones.
they do that now.
That's what people do now.
Yeah, okay.
And you just
keep
you
yourself in
go
your own bubble
into.
kind
But
of
you
thing.
still have people chatting, that's how people relax and whatever else. But there's still a lot of psyching.
I find that incredible
Still.
that they put opponents together for 30 minutes. Imagine putting two boxers in a tight room together for 30 minutes before they go out.
So, funny you should mention this, because I made a podcast the other day about Cohen Ovet. 800 metres.
Hold on a second, you've been cheating on us?
Yeah, sorry. I'm having an affair. 800 metres, Moscow, 1980, 800 metre final. They're in the call room for about half an hour. As you said, Seb Coe goes in early. He's sitting there and he's nervous, and everybody's looking at him going, he's nervous. He's the hot favourite to win this race. Ovet isn't the favourite. Ovet comes into the room so late that he almost gets thrown out of the race because he nearly misses the call. And he just breezes in at the last moment and goes, right, ready, lads? And Seb Coe's looking at him going, you've done me, sort of thing. Exactly. Seb Coe goes out there, he is nervous, and he gets beat. Ovet wins the 800 metres, upsets the odds. Big shock that Coe gets beaten. And that part of that was just call room psychology, which you've just described. Exactly. So interesting.
Who leads, who goes out first, who runs out, who swaggers out of the back. And you can't, that for many years I would have watched all that. And then in the end, when it all happens, you just do what's right for you. Yeah. And none of that gets into your head. But, don't get me wrong, I was nervous.
Yeah.
And you go, why do I do this to myself? I listened to Johnny Wilkinson on a podcast the other day, and he was just talking about how nervous he got beforehand. And you never knew that. I was still nervous. Beforehand, and you do go, God, I can't wait for this all to be over. And I'd go, 2 hours time, and this is all going to be over, and we're going to know. And you go, why do I do this to myself?
so on a race day, what would your day look like?
Well, you don't race till like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
Say you're racing at 8 o'clock. What would your day be?
Try and get up late. You try and probably get up, you'd have breakfast, but you're not much. You'd have lunch. You try and relax, sit and sleep in the afternoon. You're not very good at that. I always used to say that you try and get ready because it's killing time. So sometimes you spend 2 hours getting ready and it's like 90 degrees outside. So you're a mess before you even get out there. But, it was just light chat. People come in, they might paint your nails for you, plait your hair. I used to have somebody plait my hair for me. Do you know what I mean? Just so it was just like chat and all of that. And then it was just killing time, longest day. And then you'd go down.
What time would you go down?
You'd go down about 4:30. I think I was on about 7:30. So you'd go down on the bus about 4:30. And I always remember this.
On a bus, not with the other athletes?
Yeah, you go down with all your other athletes. Oh yeah. You
and
meet
is that still the case now?
Yeah. So two things happened on this day, going to my final. Bruce was going to meet me on the back of the bus, 4:30 bus. One was I bump into Linford. Okay, and he'd won his gold medal. And it's really interesting because... we had massive respect for all of us, okay, Linford, Colin and myself, but you always wanted to be the one that got the glory.
Yeah.
And then when he win, you go, I've got to go and win. You know what I mean? So we always wanted to be the one that came back. Anyway, he goes to me, are you coming off the plane at the front at Heathrow with me, or are you at the back with everybody else?
Did he say that?
That is what he said to me. Didn't say good luck, didn't say anything.
And how did you take that?
I was like, I'm not letting him have all the glory. I need it. I want that.
And was it meant as a catalyst?
Yeah, absolutely. It was.
Fair play to him.
But we used to have this whole thing, it's like we wanted to be the one that came back with the only gold medal.
So he threw the gauntlet down?
Yeah, he put the gauntlet down. So I was like, come on, let's just get on with this thing. I was like, just get this thing over and done with. And I do remember walking up the stairs and sitting right at the top of the stairs on the coach with Sandra Farmer-Patrick. And honestly, it started from there, just the looks, the daggers, the kiss of the teeth. But I'd prepared myself. I was ready. I knew I was in the shape of my life, and I was never going to let any of this happen. So.
That told you she was worried about you as well.
Told me she was worried about me.
Pay you all that attention says.
Yeah.
She could beat me.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like, no, not letting any of this happen. I'm in it. I want this.
Mm.
And I was hungry. I knew I was in the best shape. So
And then when you arrive at the arena, are you like?
He's really into this.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
So you go in and there's loads of people.
Private changing facilities.
You go into the warm-up area. So you're in a warm-up track.
Oh, so you're ready already?
You're all ready.
Okay.
And you might go in half an hour before you start warming up, but you see all your people in the final and everybody's warming up. So before, I might have gone, oh, she looks good on the day. Oh my God, looks great over the hurdle. Now, I was in such a great place that you don't now look. You just get on with yours. You don't watch other people. Yeah. You get on with all your training, and then they call you into
And are you in there
room.
on your own?
I got my coach.
Just you and your coach?
Just you and my coach.
Okay.
And and I always remember Bruce. He was a brilliant guy, and he would talk about, don't ever talk about the race. And he used to talk about all sorts of things in his life. And I think at one point he was getting divorced, and he talked about his divorce on the day that I was going out there to race my Olympic final or the Worlds or something or other. But I didn't mind that. Just don't talk about the race. There's nothing else you can say or whatever. So we used to just have light chat or whatever. He just knew how to treat me. And then you'd be a massive, great big voice that would come. Women's 400-metre hurdlist finalists, please make their way to the call room. And, that was it. And it is like walking into a gladiator stadium to be able to perform. So you walk from there into the call room. And I just remember Bruce going to me, just get in there and show him what you're made of.
And that you're your own, but Bruce is not allowed in there.
He just handed me the bag and just said, go in there and show him what you're made of. And I do remember thinking, it's all right for you. You don't have to go and do this thing. Your head's playing a bit. And you're just like, it's okay. It's fine. Just get in there. And then you get in that call room, and then the games start. And then I do remember walking out onto the track, because they always walk you out in your lanes. And I was in lane 3. And I did make a mistake of looking up. And I think because we were in Barcelona, there was a lot of British flags and a lot of British support and everybody shouting your name. And you can feel yourself going. Mm-hmm. And I just said, right, don't do that. Put your eyes down, watch the track. So I just walked up. It was like the home straight, and walked up. And I just put my blocks out, had one run over the hurdle. I remember them being a full start, and I started walking back going, bloody, it would have all been over, but it's not because of the full start.
Yeah, one full start.
And then the gun goes, and you just go into that autopilot, and then
habit takes over.
It takes over, yeah.
So did you think, if I run my race, I win?
I didn't even think about what happens afterwards.
Right.
Didn't have a clue.
Right.
Didn't even. All I just remember rehearsing in my mind was just crossing the line and winning. But I didn't rehearse, what happens after that. I just had no idea what happens after that.
I can see why you talked about goal setting, and you did public speaking when you retired, didn't you? And you did keynote speaking, and you talked about goal setting. I mean, this is what you're talking about here, isn't it? It's goal setting and
it's knowing what you want, what you can achieve. And I think before, what I used to do was just sort of rock up and just let it play out and go, well, let's just see what happens. And
let your natural ability take you so far.
And you can't really do that. You've got to go in with a bit of a plan. I mean, maybe it's different in football, because you've got to be able to react to situations, because you don't know, what could happen on the day, whether it's pouring with rain or you get bad lane or whatever. So you've got a reaction to situations, but you've got, with the 4 hurdles, you've got to have a plan. You've got to know exactly what leg's going to hit the hurdle and stride patterns and all of those things. And I think before it was just like, well, you don't really know how fast you're going to run on the day, and you could get taken away with the atmosphere and all this, but you can't rely on that. You just got to have a plan and try and think about it and prepare yourself and know what you're going to achieve.
Well, I'm sorry to finish with such a big question, but if you could, I'm sure you do give young athletes advice all the time, maybe even particularly a young female athlete with talent, what would be the one single piece of advice you'd give them?
Can I only have one? Can I have two?
No, you can have as many as you like.
I think first one would be enjoy it. I loved what I did. Absolutely loved it. And, it was pressure, but I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. I've got no regrets. Absolutely loved it. And I was very lucky to achieve what I did. And even if I didn't, I've still loved the journey that I got on. And the other one would be don't take yourself too seriously. I just think it took me years to find that confident and not take myself too seriously. And it's all right to show your vulnerable side, and it's all right to ask for help. But, those two things are linked, aren't they? The enjoyment and the, not taking yourself too seriously as well. And, yeah.
Yeah, good advice for life as well as sport there, I think, don't you, Glenn?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am very much on the same page as you when it comes to all that. I think when we look at kids playing, why do they start doing what they do? It's through enjoyment. It's a hobby. And I still feel as though even at the pinnacle of all sports, if you're enjoying yourself, you'll get the most out of yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I did something with Kevin Sinfield the other night, and it was a talking show thing, and this kid stood up in the crowd and said, I'm a young rugby league player, what piece of advice would you give me? He said, well, I could sit here and say, you got to train hard, you got to dedicate yourself, you got to look after your teammates, you got to eat well, sleep well. All of that would be true, but he said, the one thing I'm going to say to you is that you have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to get enjoyment from it.
And I think that's sometimes what's taken out of us, isn't it? And it's like, right from a young age, and that's quite scary. And I think you have to remind ourselves.
It's meant to be fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's meant to be fun. And I also, my other thing is, try as many different skills and different sports as you can. There's too much specialising too young. So I think it is. That's what I always say to parents. Let them do other stuff at the same time.
Yeah. Well, great advice. And when it comes from an Olympic champion, you can't ignore it. So thank you, Sally. It's been really, really good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Enjoyed
Sally.
that. Thank you.